So today I just wanted to talk a little bit about sobriety and how it really affects you when you drink a lot or if you take a lot of drugs and things like that. And for me, I've been sober now for about 4 months and it's helped every single aspect of my life tremendously, like unbelievably. It plays in and bleeds into everything you do. I think it's probably because of the discipline of it. And so therefore you get more disciplined in other areas of your life, more disciplined with training, health in general. But for me, I've always had a really addictive personality, which can be something that's amazing and also something that's really bad for you. So I can get addicted to good things, addicted to things like working out, nutrition, and stuff that's generally just good for you. Being outside, being in nature, depending on where you are. I'm here in the UK and unfortunately, I wanted to film videos outside whilst I was going for a walk, but it's grey and shit. But you can also get addicted to things that are bad for you. And of course, the big one is alcohol. Now, I grew up in the UK and my uncle, I didn't realise this at the time, but my uncle unfortunately was a big time alcoholic. Now, he was like a goth type dude, he was like 6'2", he had a mohawk that was like probably about a foot higher than his head, so he looked like an absolute beast. He was never a horrible, aggressive person or anything like that, but he drunk and he drunk and he drunk. And I remember seeing him after years of not being in contact because he was an alcoholic. So, I'd reach out and stuff occasionally, but he just wouldn't get back to me. And I don't know, I think maybe he was ashamed or something like that. But it is a shame because he was a great person and he actually introduced me to a lot of things that I still enjoy and like in life nowadays. But as I said, I didn't realise it growing up. I just thought it was normal because of culture in the UK is very drink heavy. We have lovely pubs and things like that, but everything is geared around if there's a special moment, a celebration, it's always alcohol and shit food and naughty food. Like when you have a birthday, right? You have drinks, birthday cake, all terrible for you, right? And you feel obliged to partake and go to these things and make bad decisions, in my opinion, especially when it comes to something like alcohol. So unfortunately, when my uncle was on his deathbed, if you like, he was in a hospice, so end of life care. The one thing I will say is he didn't regret any of it. Now, that's not my sort of vibe, right? I would regret that if I drank my life away. And that's a hard thing and almost like a horrible thing to say in a way about my own family. But I did love this person, of course. He's probably, regardless of blood, one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. He was so clever, gifted artistically when it comes to just plain sort of drawing and abstract art and photography too. But them things just didn't hold up because he was probably hanging out of his arse all the time. So influences and relationships and culture will really affect your decisions. So say, for example, you're in a relationship with someone, right? That could be your wife, right? And they like to drink a lot. Well, in reality, you're going to have to be a very strong person to be the one who's not drinking. And the majority of people are not that sort of level of strength, of willpower and strong in their mind and disciplined like that. So, and I'm certainly not saying break up with anyone or anything like that. But in reality, to change a habit that's as big as drinking and becoming sober and having a clean and clear mind and healthy, fit body, so you make better decisions in general, you care about yourself more, you love yourself more, you're going to have to let go of some people. Because the majority of people who attempt to become sober are not necessarily, they fail, but generally because of the people they hang around with. You're going to have to probably not see some friends for a while or not see them again if you want to stay sober long term, especially if sobriety is something to do with your health. And I'm not talking about just health in terms of going to the gym and, looking good in training. I'm talking about actual real health, the amount of people that get diagnoses which are terrible for them. You imagine something wrong with their liver, and then they clean up for a few months, maybe a year, and then they're back on it. And they've, been in the system, got a liver transplant, and then they just keep doing the same old shit again and again and again, same old cycles. So becoming sober is about breaking that cycle. And if you do have friends, you're going to have to cut them off, which, if you have friends that influence you to drink, not necessarily they're like, drink this, but it's part of the culture. It's part of your friendship. It's part of why you have a friendship. It's because you go out drinking together, because you go watch the football and get pissed or whatever, right? And you're going to have to break them sort of things off. And especially when it comes to like an intimate relationship with someone, if they are someone who likes to drink or drink heavily, it will influence you. It'll always be there. It's there in the fridge. We're going on holiday. Let's get, a case of cider. I'm not saying I haven't had great times drinking and getting drunk in the past when I was younger. Me, myself, like I said, I've only been sober now for about 4 months, but it's literally one of the best decisions I've made in a very, very long time. And it will affect every area of your life. Everything tightens, becomes sharper. You become stronger. Your sleep becomes better. But to do it, in reality, you're going to have to distance yourself from others. And you're going to have to be prepared for a little bit of an attack on your character. And you'll find out by doing it also, the relationships that you have with people, which ones are actually based upon something more than just going out and having a good time. There's something deeper, something a bit more intrinsic. Maybe you do have similar goals or similar interests, but if they're not attached to drinking, you'll find then people not reaching out to you so much because your relationship was based upon that, which is a shame, but it will, highlight some truths to you. And, the truth is important. And if you can't handle doing that, you're probably not going to get sober. It's probably the best thing you can do is not hang around with people who drink if you're trying to not drink alcohol. Really simple. I mean, for example, it's so ingrained into culture in the UK. And obviously in the US as well. I'm not sure about other countries throughout Europe. I think it's a little bit more normalised when you're younger, a glass of wine with food or whatever. But, I'm basing that off stuff I knew when I was younger. But for example, right? So we all know who Jeremy Clarkson is, right? We know Clarkson's Farm, Diddley Squat, that sort of stuff. So last year I went to his pub, The Farmer's Dog. Really nice place. Had lunch, drunk loads, of course. And I got this hat, right? The Farmer's Dog. It's a really nice hat. But look, I've got a hat that's based upon the culture of drinking and my consumption of basically poison. And yes, I am being a bit dramatic about this, right? But that is what that is. You're almost like part of a club who agree that it's good to treat yourself like shit. And look, behind me as well, I don't know if you can see it, but up there I've got a Diddley Squat Farm gin tin, right? Really cool little tin with the tractor on, right? But again, that is that same thing. And like, alcohol is really glorified in culture, and it's attached to so many things, so many memories for so many years. But it is literally detrimental to your health, to your actual genuine relationships, to your decision making, to how your body functions, how your sleep functions. I know this guy, right? I won't say who he is, but I don't know how old he is, right? But he's literally got to be pushing 70. And he is one of the healthiest people I've ever seen in my life. His eyes are perfectly clear white. His tan is even and natural. When I used to have a dog with my ex, right? Every time I went out to walk the dog, he was out there. So that means he's out there God knows how much. And this guy's like pushing 70. He doesn't drink. He's lean as you like, really smart, a really good, calm, balanced person. That's also, I want to be like that when I'm older. Like genuinely, that guy is a G in my opinion. Absolutely. And I know a lot of people say it's boring not drinking. And I totally get where you're coming from, right? You are going to have to change what you do for fun in reality, right? Otherwise, yes, it will be boring, but you've got to ask yourself these questions. If my life is boring because I don't go out and consume alcohol and eat loads of shit, then maybe you're just a boring person doing what everyone else is doing. Have you ever thought about that? I imagine you won't like that. But it's true. There's plenty of other things you can do. There's plenty of other things you enjoy in life outside of drinking, smoking bad substances, and eating shit. Surely, there's more to your life than that. Because if there's not, that exposes some holes in your character and who you are. That's terrible, right? And I'd encourage anyone to just try and do 90 days. Even maybe don't tell people, but tell people, look, I'm not going to be drinking for 90 days or whatever because of this reason, that reason, whatever. And tell them not to hit you up. Tell them not to invite you out. Tell them you don't even want to know it. You just got to distance yourself from it because you want to get healthy, okay? And think clearly, eat clean, be fit, and you're going to make such better decisions. No, I have literally got on top of every area of my life since I stopped drinking. Because, 4 months ago, and probably for about 18 months or so before that, I was drinking. I did have a couple of days off, but literally 2 to 4 pints or a few measures of gin every single day. And then when it was like days off or going on holiday or away for a cheeky weekend, literally drinking loads to the point where New Year's Eve 24, I drank so much in a short space of time. I can't even remember what happened. Certainly didn't see the new year in. Not that I actually give a shit about seeing the new year in, but still, it's the principle, right? I couldn't even remember what happened. But because I was drinking so much at the time, I didn't even really feel hungover the next day, which is wild, right? That much alcohol going through my system. And by the time it came for New Year's Day lunch, I was having a beer again. I was fine, and it shouldn't be like that, right? That's not correct. You're becoming so addicted to something, and I was, that it's just awful for you. And you have to distance yourself from people. And you got to remember, though, it's not other people's fault. It's your fault, right? In the past, it's me who has been the weak one. It's not them trying to push it on you. It's just normal to have a good time like that. And you go to some pubs, and they are beautiful buildings, great atmospheres and vibes and people enjoying themselves, which is really nice, and it's nice to be around and be a part of. But I've done that in life, and you've done that in life, and there is more to life than just going to the pub every night or every Friday or Saturday night and getting pissed and thinking you're setting the world to rights and thinking that your ideas fucking mean shit. When usually, if you speak to someone who's sober and on their game, they hear what you say and be like, this guy's a fucking idiot. And I'd say if you do decide to go sober for 90 days or whatever, and use your time that you've now freed up to work on yourself, you're going to have a new sort of zest for life because you're going to have that energy. If you're a man, your testosterone is going to creep right back up because you'll be sleeping better. You're highly likely to make better decisions with food. I literally recommend it. It's like a cure-all, a cure for all remedies. It's being sober. At the end of the day, that is the state of being and the state of mind that we're meant to be in. We come into the world like that. It probably shouldn't be changed. And it's time to let go of old habits. If you really want to take your life to the next level, you've got to let go of the old habits. And that person that you want to be doesn't do that shit. Catch you in the next video.